Hey everybody, I'm Anne-Christine Diaz, Creativity Editor at Ad Age. Happy New Year. It's been a while since we've done this. Welcome to the Creativity Top 5 Live. It's actually not top 5. We're actually going to look back on the best of our top 5s from last year. As we go into this new year, we want to look back at the things that will inspire us going forward. So with me, I have our trusted team. To my right is
Hi, I'm Alexandra Jardine, UK editor at Ad Age. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
And hi.
We haven't done this in a while, so forgive us for being a little rusty.
I'm Jessica Wall, senior editor at Ad Age, and happy 2022, everybody.
And I'm Parker Heron, reporter at Ad Age, and agree. Happy New Year. Welcome to you all.
Yeah. So, as I said, we want to kick off the year with looking back at some of the best work. And admittedly, 2021 was a crazy year. It felt like it went so fast, but also took 10 years to get through. I think I've heard that from many people. And it was just a strange year. I feel like people were kind of figuring out what kind of messages were okay to put out, right, guys? Like there was no definitive vibe as to what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it was I'm probably mixing my metaphors here, but it was like a roller coaster with a load of curveballs last year.
Yeah. What did you guys, Jessica, Parker, or was it just roses for you guys?
Oh, well, it was all over the place. Just when you thought it was safe to stop talking about the pandemic, it came back. It was in advertising. It was out of advertising. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so.
Yeah, and the world continued to grapple with social justice issues. So many themes rose once again. So much happened. So we're going to take a look back at the work through the lens of some of those themes. We're not going to get through everything. At the end of the year, we pulled together a list of the top 30 ads, which you could check out at adage.com/2021 best ads. But we'll look at it a little differently through a lot of the big themes that we saw. And before we kick it off, make sure to tell us who you are and where you're watching from in the comments, because we would love to give you guys a shout out. So Parker, you want to kick it off with our first theme?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest things that we kind of just mentioned is that advertisers are trying to address the world and all of us going back to normal after the pandemic, because we were headed into 2021 with vaccines. We were so excited. And was this the year we could have fun again? Was it going to be one where we had to hunker down in isolation again? We didn't know. And one of the first campaigns that really struck our interest on this topic was from Wendy's. They partnered again with Adult Swim and Warner Media on their show Rick and Morty, and they did a full takeover of a Wendy's store in California and made it into Morty's. People traveled from hours away. They crossed state lines for this drive-through experience with these big blow-up heads and LED screens that had music, and it was an immersive experience with exclusive menu items. I really wanted one of those Pickle Rick Frosties.
Yeah, I did too.
So yeah, this one was like people coming together. What you
Yeah,
guys
I mean,
think?
I feel like 2021, we saw a lot of brands try to be experiential at home with like these massive, elaborate home mailers, but experiential actually happened out there in the real world once again. And this was one of the biggest and funnest things that we saw all year. One of the things that we all wanted to go to. So, on a different sort of note, getting back to normal, Burger King had something out. Jessica, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, sticking with a restaurant theme, Burger King actually did a radio campaign. It was first a radio campaign, and then there were videos, which you can look at it on adage.com. But I think we might have a clip of one of the audio campaigns about these confusing times.
Haley is more excited to take her dog out the house than her dog is. This new dynamic. They're both confused. Dustin bought a book on climate change, but it's shipped from England by plane, wrapped in plastic. Now he's confused. Vegan shoes? Confused. It's all so confusing. Which makes it the perfect time for the Burger King Impossible Whopper. A Whopper made without beef that tastes just like a Whopper. I mean, what?
We love that. What I loved was that it was a radio campaign. We don't give enough credit to radio, but you know, when it's really good writing and really good performance, it works so well. And there are more spots that you guys should definitely check out and listen to.
And that was one of those campaigns. That was from David Madrid, and it was one of those campaigns that just stuck in my head in a good way. So there was also, if you remember, an ad from Guinness that sort of reminded you about beer when you were going back to your everyday life. There's a post that looks like a Guinness, some birds on a fireplace, a chimney that looked like Guinness, the newspaper. So just putting the brand out there in everyday life, I thought that was a smart way of getting us back outside.
It was fun, and it came out just when the pubs were about to open up here. So I think they were like reminding people, when you go to the pub again, to remember your Guinness.
Yeah, and there was a great track to it, and a cover of "Always on My Mind" that fit perfectly with, wanting that beer and finally getting it.
And getting back to normal, this ad, which came in at number 5 on our list for the top ads of 2021, is for Extra from Energy BBDO. You all know how much fun I had watching this ad. You can all go back and watch it. It's a little long for the show, but if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you take the time and watch the whole thing. And think back to early May when things seemed so promising and optimistic. And
yeah, that's what was so fantastic about this ad was we were so excited, and this was the first one to celebrate, the promise of getting back out there. Remember? Mm-hmm. And there's a Celine Dion track backing this, which we're not playing right now, but it fits so perfectly with the mood of the spot. Just everybody's out there chewing gum and, locking lips. It's like,
yeah, it's all that like pent up excitement, isn't it? And yeah. I think it kind of stands the test of time, even though, I mean, I'm not sure, did the hot vax summer even really happen? I'm not sure. Now we're in like the cold Omicron winter. But it's still funny, and it's still good, and whatever situation you're in, you can enjoy it.
Yeah, hopefully they can just re-release it next year and we'll feel the same thing.
Yeah.
Or I guess this year, 2022.
Yeah, this year, not next year, Parker.
And speaking of that excitement that maybe didn't come to fruition, Alex, want to move us on to our next theme?
Yeah. So as Anne just said, the thing with the pandemic was just when we thought we were going to get out there and go back to normal again, it kind of grumbled on, and then it got worse and it got better. And certainly over here in the UK, we were never quite sure if we were heading into another lockdown or not. So, there were brands that kept on addressing some of the issues that have been continuous since the start of the pandemic, like loneliness and connection with other people. There was a really good campaign from Cox, which found a way of connecting some middle school kids and letting them do their school play in the form of an animated production. I really love that one because I've got a kid who's into drama, and it's just something they miss so much. There was another one from Xbox, which connected the older generation with their grandkids via gaming, and that was really clever as well, and addressed that whole issue of loneliness among the seniors, and the fact that they couldn't see their grandchildren in person, but perhaps they could connect with them online and on Xbox. So that was great. There was also a lot of vaccine campaigns throughout the year, but one of the cleverest came from Pfizer and Ogilvy, Brazil. It promoted getting your vaccine through Grand Theft Auto Roleplay, which is the user-modified version of the game. And it was great, with all this talk we're now having about the metaverse, it was so surprising to see a pharma brand getting into this first and trying to persuade people to get that vaccine in a completely different way.
Yeah, that's what I like about. I always like it when an unexpected category does something really innovative. Sometimes it could be really kind of awkward, but I felt like this made it look cool. Like it also pulled in influencers to help promote the idea. And I don't know, I just liked that it was targeting a new demo, playing in a completely different space for this particular category. I thought that was an awesome idea. So before we move on to the next category, we have a bunch of shout outs. I want to say hi to Elisa from Brazil, Anne from California. Yeah, I gave us a shout out. Emma from Texas, Deborah from Michigan, Akima from Cameroon, Janine from New York. Is that our Janine? Raphael from Canada, Anurag from India, Andy from Canada, and Eddie from California. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year. So the next theme, we saw so much on saving the planet and the environment and sustainability. And we saw a lot of big brands really come out in full force to make the environment and saving the environment a central part of their agendas. These weren't just one-off ideas, but themes that continued in campaigns all year round from some really, really major brands. So our favorites in this space included IKEA, which debuted its trash collection. Well, basically, they promoted discarded IKEA furniture as stuff you could buy with, the names and the prices. And that was part of promoting the brand's recycling initiative, which has been going on since last year or maybe even longer. And then there was Volvo. We know Volvo as a big brand in terms of safety, and it's done a lot of really incredible initiatives around promoting its safety, opening up its safety information to other advertisers, for example. But last year they pulled this what appeared like a huge stunt ad where they dangled a car from a crane. We've seen this before. And it looked like it was going to be this big proof of its safety. But what actually happened, it turned out to be this environmental ad where it showed glaciers crashing in the background. And that was from Great Europe. So that was another one we would really like. And you could see it on our full list. And then yet another brand, which was an environmental superhero, was Corona, surprisingly. So in Latin America, it's owned by AB InBev, and we saw Corona pull a lot of really interesting moves. They opened a beach bar made of all natural ingredients. But then in Mexico, there was this really interesting initiative where they tried to help both fishermen who were suffering from overfishing and plastic pollution, and also clean up the oceans at the same time. So these fishermen who couldn't get fish because there were no fish in the oceans, they challenged them to fish the plastic out of the ocean, and they compensated them for that. And that was an idea from We Believers, and it was so super smart to me because it's a sustainable idea. It's scalable, it could go on, and it could continue to help both the fishermen and the environment. So we really loved that one. And then finally, Parker, you want to tell us about our number 3 spot on the list, which we really loved.
Yes, so in a pretty brave move for this space, Procter & Gamble's Tide came out with Turn to Cold, a campaign where they challenge people to use their product a little bit differently, and I think we have a clip.
You turn to cold washing with Tide.
Unsubscribe.
Wait. This helps the environment.
And saves you money?
Oh, the environment. Yeah, with the trees and the shrubs. How much money?
$100 a year on your energy bill. It's like getting paid for doing nothing.
I will take that money for the environment.
This was a cold call.
So we've seen Tide create some really fantastic campaigns for the Super Bowl, and these ads, which they had versions with Ice-T and Stone Cold Steve Austin, even Annie Murphy, who we just saw on Vanilla Ice. They were entertaining, and they represented a huge step from Tide to protect the planet. It centered the entire marketing push on the use of cold water, and even kind of revamped their logo on the packaging around all of this.
Yeah, I thought that was a really brave move, because it was the central part of their marketing all year, and it was an attempt to change consumer behavior. Like, we have locked in our heads, or at least I do, that the warmer the water, the better, the more dirt it'll take out for some reason. But, Tide was also, while promoting its own product, saying that our product is so good it'll clean in cold water, it was encouraging users to do something completely different and unexpected, or something they might not want to do. And like you said, Parker, we've seen really fantastic pushes for the Super Bowl, some really innovative ones, but I thought this was a super brave move in terms of changing consumer behavior. What did you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it worked on me. I've been turning my machine down to 30, and I think it was because the message of the ad, and us talking about it and writing about it had gone in.
Yeah.
So well done.
And it's nice to see a company, especially a brand as big as Tide, at a corporation as big as Procter & Gamble, walk the talk in a fun way, right?
Yeah.
It's not hitting you over the head with, you should use cold water. Like, they came up with a really fun way to do it. And obviously the celebrities make it more appealing, more watchable, and just easy to bring into your everyday life. So
yeah, that is such a good point. The casting was spot on. They picked people with names who reference cold water. So
yeah,
unfortunately,
and like
there's some really
said,
good.
Well, and like we've said, for us as consumers also, like, that's such an easy change for us to make. And so I love that they just gave us, like, it can seem so overwhelming, these big ideas about saving the planet, but here's something small you can start with, and then dive in deeper as you learn more.
Yeah, and I think IKEA did that a little bit as well with all its marketing this year. It was all about making little changes rather than, some huge change to your life.
Yeah, great tips for lazy environmentalists.
Yeah, and all those campaigns that we talked about with the environment, they were all they weren't just kind of preaching. They kind of did it in a quirky or fun way to get the message across.
Yeah, and we did see so much of it, like so much so that made me a little more scared. Like, okay, the big brands are stepping in. We all gotta really, really focus. But moving on to our next theme, Jessica, you want to tell us about that?
Absolutely. So 2020 was a huge year for social justice campaigns, as we all remember. And we saw that continue in a variety of ways in 2021. You might remember the inauguration, which was less than a year ago. Just going to put that into perspective. It was less than a year ago. We saw a nice acknowledgement of the vice president of the United States being a woman of color for the first time. That came from Girl Up, Ogilvy, and Refinery 29. That was one that stood out to us. And we also saw a campaign from Jay-Z's cannabis brand, Monogram, that was created with Mischief, and it had some really powerful billboards talking about the hypocrisies in cannabis legislation. See this one here. There's a state in America where cannibalism is technically legal and cannabis isn't. Right? It's just simple wording, but it hits home. You can marry your first cousin in more states and you can buy recreational weed. So just calling out the systemic racism that was tied to cannabis laws, just really simple, seems like a simple approach, but it hit home. And then another favorite that we saw this year was this campaign from Change the Ref, the anti-gun violence organization. We want to take a look at that.
Amendment. There are some who continue to fight to gut the Second Amendment, but I'd be willing to bet that many of you will be among those who stand up and prevent them from succeeding.
911 emergency.
Defending it is a challenge.
So you can watch the full ad on adage.com on Creativity Online. It was created with Leo Burnett and Brian Buckley out of Hungry Man. You might remember this. It was basically a Borat-style prank, right? It looked like this guy was practicing to speak at a graduation, at a commencement speech. But all of those chairs represent students who couldn't graduate because they were killed in gun violence.
Yeah, he thought
he was pranked.
Yeah, but the effect was he was speaking to the lost class of students who died.
2021.
Yeah, and fun fact about that one, the team actually recruited the lawyers who work with Sacha Baron Cohen so that they to help pull this off. So they had some experienced talent helping them, and that got so much attention, right? Like it was all over the place when it first came out. But Parker, you want to tell us about our next thing?
Yeah, there was some fabulous, amazing Pride work in 2021. A lot of it that went along with the themes we've already talked about. Some really great back to normal stuff in the summer during Pride Month, and even some more recent ones. One of our favorites was the fantastic Norwegian Post ad from Try Oslo showing Santa in a gay relationship, kind of a nice romantic love story with a edgy twist from Norway over there. But the strongest entry we thought, which was number 2 on our list of top campaigns of the year, or top ads of the year, was from the NFL in 72 and Sunny.
Yeah, you might think, it's tied to the Trevor Project, and it was kind of a super simple spot, especially for the NFL, whom we know for its super big productions featuring all the football players in the world, right? But when we first saw this, it was so striking for its simple message. At NFL, which has had its issues with social justice, coming out with this super bold statement, the NFL, that football is gay. I was just blown away by it when I first saw it. What did you guys think?
Yeah, and this one also came right on the heels of, I believe it was the first openly gay NFL player, active NFL player coming out. And so I thought this was a really beautiful statement of inclusion, not only to that player, but we just have certain notions of football in America. And so I just thought like this was a really beautiful challenge to people who maybe watch football and don't feel the same way. And the NFL wasn't necessarily afraid of the repercussions. They just said it.
Yeah, and it kind of pointed us to where the NFL is going or has been going with its marketing. And we honored them as our marketer of the year this year, and this is one of the reasons, I think.
Yeah, it was so brave. And just to say, it's not just football in the US. I can't imagine that happening here in the UK with soccer at the moment. I just don't think they would do it.
Yeah.
So.
But awesome work. I'm still looking forward to the big production ads though, because those are always so fun. And the Super Bowl is just around the corner, so make sure to keep watching adage.com because we're writing a lot about that right now. So moving on, Alex, you want to tell us about how very nimble advertisers have been in the last year?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fairly common now for brands to react to real world events in real time. We've seen a lot of it, but there were some really brilliant moves last year. And we were just talking about the Super Bowl, but one of the things that really got people's attention in last year's Super Bowl was the Reddit push from RGA that reacted to the whole Wall Street, GameStop and Robinhood saga, which you may have forgotten about, but it was a huge news at the time. And I think was that a last minute Super Bowl ad, or it wasn't even in the main game, but it was one of the ones that people remembered the most.
Yeah, it was a regional buy, I think,
yeah.
And it was shown against this sheet metal ad. It was like a glitch, and so it was kind of like a what the heck is going on moment. Yeah, but that probably was one of the ads that got most talked about.
I think it was, and definitely one of the ones that's most remembered. So there was that at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year there was like at the time what seemed like a last minute contender for one of the top ads of the year, and that came from Peloton and Ryan Reynolds' Maximum Effort.
What's a top 5 without a Ryan Reynolds alert?
Yeah. Hey Ryan.
You're back. Yeah, so you want to talk a little bit about that?
So that was brilliant. They played into the whole thing that, we're going to be spoiling it here for people who haven't seen, but anyway, most of you probably know by now that in Sex and the City's reboot, Mr. Big, played by Chris North, had died of a heart attack while riding his Peloton bike. And I think Peloton's share price had crashed and all kinds of things that they were getting, some bad publicity out of it, and maybe a bit of good publicity too, because their name was mentioned all over the place. And then Ryan Reynolds came out with this ad for Peloton, which shows him sitting there with the Peloton instructor who he was watching in the episode of Sex and the City, and saying "to new beginnings," which also referenced the Peloton wife ad that he did for Aviation Gin. If you could still following me here, we're really kind of going down a long trail of referential ads. But everybody thought this was incredibly clever and really, really nimble and quick. It came out 2 days after the episode aired or something like that. But unfortunately for Peloton, Ryan and numerous other people and Sex and the City, I think there's now been some allegations against Chris North, which of sexual assault, which are not good. So they ended up pulling the ad.
Yeah. So, at the time it was a brilliant move, which is why it made it on our list, because it happened right as we were putting our list out. But then the controversy happened afterwards. So ultimately, I guess we can look back on it as a big learning moment for brands and entertainers in terms of doing due diligence, I guess. Yeah, so if you're going to do a reaction ad, you have to be super careful about it. Any kind of ad, I guess, actually.
Yeah, and I guess that's always been the way. But I suppose if you've done one that everyone kind of jumps on, and then this comes out, I mean, it's just very unfortunate timing for Peloton. I mean,
Yeah.
who knew? Sarah Jessica Parker didn't know about it, so why would they have known?
Yeah, right. Quickly, another theme that we saw on our list, we saw some big brands do some really interesting shifts in how they're portraying themselves. For example, there was Droga 5's campaign for Petco. You know, we think of Petco as a pet store where you go and buy dog food and collars and sweaters, cute sweaters. Oh, which actually Parker has a cute sweater for his cat from a different brand. But anyway, but what Droga 5 and Petco did this year was reframe how people looked at the pet retailer as a place for the health and well-being of your pets. And I thought that was super smart, because people love their pets so much, so to change the way you promote the brand to focus more heavily on that, I thought that was a brilliant move. And then also we saw a campaign for Lego. So Lego is it's a favorite for kids of all ages, but with this campaign from the Lego agency, which is their in-house, their own agency, internal agency, they strictly focused on adults. And it was a trio of fantastic spots that showed adults escaping from their stressful lives by building bricks. And they're super funny ads, which you should all take a look at. They're so fantastic. And Lego in general has done some fantastic work. There was a great holiday spot, but this one, because of the approach they took, we really loved. And we have some more shout outs. Parker, you want to read those?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone, especially to Kevin from France, Bunjo from Uganda, Scott from Texas, Han from Kentucky, Joshua from Texas, Olivia from Illinois, Anna from Florida, Jennifer from Florida, I hope you're watching together, and Imad from Egypt.
Hey all, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us. And finally, our last theme, which is our favorite theme, Jessica.
It's not a top 5 if we don't talk about food, right? Some of you might recognize what Parker is wearing. We'll get to another Parker outfit in a moment, but the second I saw him on screen today, I got super excited. If you know what he's wearing, let us know in the comments. I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to let you think about it for a little bit. Maybe I'll tell you at the end. But we did continue to see such great creativity out of the food space in 2021. And there was a lot of clothing, a lot of merch. There was a lot of merch from Panera Bread last year. And Parker just was Parker in all his glory. I think we have an image of Parker in the bathing suit.
Yes. The swim soup. That's what everybody needed.
There you go.
That looks fantastic on you, Parker, by the way.
Thank you. Yes. They probably won't be returning next summer on this body, but I have some friends that are very excited to now own them. And if you want to see more of that stuff, you need to see Ad Age's TikTok because off the hook.
Totally off the hook because Parker is in so many of them and he is fantastic. So subscribe to Ad Age's TikTok, everybody.
Yes. Alex, I think you wrote about another food campaign that was just really different. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. This was something for Pringles, which, earlier we talked about Pfizer moving into the gaming space, but this was a slightly different one. Basically, they took a zombie called Frank out of a video game. I think the game is called West of Dead. And they put him, they took him out like midway through somebody playing on Twitch, and they put him into their advertising, and he stayed there for, I think it was something like 2 weeks, and then they put him back into the video game, but he was back as an ambassador for Pringles.
Yeah,
and this was a real kind of like metaverse move, I guess.
Yeah, and that was out of Grey Europe, and that was just such a fantastic move. Like gamers and snacks, perfect, demographic that you're talking to there. And then just playing with the different platforms that gamers or, young consumers would be on. I think that was just so fresh and fascinating. And, and meanwhile, we're seeing regular old chips ads out in the world, but this was a real fun move, and a real moving into that space that everybody is talking about, gaming and the metaverse. So
yeah, and doing it on Twitch as well, so that they immediately got the attention of everybody who was watching that Twitch live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, Alex, you want to tell us about our number one ad on our list?
Yeah, so I guess everyone's probably very familiar with this campaign now, because we've talked about it a lot. But if you're not, at the beginning of last year, Heinz Ketchup conducted an experiment, and they asked a bunch of people to simply draw ketchup. And let's take a look at what happened.
Heinz bottle.
I don't even know if I spelled the name right.
Heinz ketchup bottle.
Got a little bit old school.
I don't know. It's like the only ketchup that I know.
With mustard.
That's mustard.
Yeah.
So that was just such a fantastic, simple idea that, played on the iconicism of the brand. And, in naming that our number one campaign, we all loved it. It was so simple and brilliant, and we all just kept coming back to it. And not just the creativity team, other people that we asked, or other people just randomly bring it up in conversation. So I feel like that's just a testament to the power of branding, and also just great work in general. That was out of Rethink in Canada, which recently opened up in New York. And it followed a long line of other brilliant moves, which I think were a little more stunty, or have been more stunty, like the ketchup puzzle or the slow website. But this one really honored just the brand itself. And Zachary Batista, he was one of our 40 under 40. He was involved in this campaign, and I was asking him about it, and no joke, people really drew Heinz, except for the guy with the mustard dude, and somebody who drew a blob or something like that. So yeah, that was just such a simple, elegant idea, and we loved it so much. Somebody thinks the 57-minute website was better, but yes, you are all entitled to your own opinions.
Yeah, they were all good. This was fun though, and I love that they put the mustard dude in as well, because it made them look like not quite so smug for including him as well.
Well,
And
and
they
if
also
they
sell
blurred it
mustard.
out.
They do sell mustard too. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. But speaking of red things, I did want to just close the loop here on Parker's outfit. I know some people thought that maybe it was a Smucker's tracksuit, but sorry. Apparently, you never went to Pizza Hut in the 1980s, because if you did go to Pizza Hut in the 1980s or 90s, you probably had pizza on a tablecloth that looks a lot like the top of Parker's tracksuit, which is sported by Craig Robinson in their campaign, which is still running. And if you're on TikTok, again, go to the Ad Age TikTok and see when Parker got that tracksuit, because it just
you got to see the full fit. There's shoes, there's pants, there's shirt,
and there's so much on TikTok. You'll have to see the pet sweaters, but that's a surprise. You'll have to check out.
I was about to say I have a memento on my desk, but a little spoiler maybe. little pet sweater.
To
Brand
that
and the
mustard.
clothing. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us. So that was our look back on 2021 and our best picks, but we also have coming up Ad Age's A-List and Creativity Awards, where we have this awesome jury of top execs across advertising and branding, judging what they think will be the best work of, or was the best work of 2021. So make sure to submit to that if you have ideas you'd want to show off. And the deadline for that is January 11th. And we hope you all have a happy new year. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for our dream team, our production dream team, Lauren Chiardio, Anna Sakula, and Arabella Breck. And have a great new year, everybody. And make sure to check back on adage.com/creativity for more of the best ideas. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Bye.